Welcome, everyone. I am so glad you're here. I'm Frank Clayton, and I've spent years as a practice owner before I came successfully sold it. And I've been in the seat many of you have been in today. And I host conversations like this because I'm interested to see what really drives results in real practices. And I know how hard it can be to cut through the noise. So we're going to start cutting today. We've got wonderful guest here with us that's really new cutting edge information. And my goal right now is to bring the right people into the conversation and share what's working and what's changing things across the industry. And I've got two of those people here. Let's meet them now. Gary Long, he's a chief revenue officer at Curve Dental. He's one of the most forward thinking practice management he's in charge of it, the Curve, that I've ever seen. It's almost, to me, it was like the iPhone of PMS. It's a wonderful product. Gary, it's great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk with you guys today.
And it feels like my sidekick, John Riley, Executive Vice President of Amplify 360. John has spent his career, and he spent 15 years in my office helping me out. And a lot of docs grow through smarter marketing. John, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you so much, Frank, and great to be here with you, Gary. And this is going to be a fun night for sure.
All right, let's get right to it. We're going to talk about what happens with your data. A lot of you are Curve users, and if you're not, you're still using PMS with data that you've been collecting and you may not have access to. And that data just sits there. So you really need data that you can dig into and actually take actions on. And this is where we're going to mesh those two together. But before we begin, let me go back. We're going to have a Q&A where we're going to discuss the presentation and open it to questions, and we're going to have polls. So I encourage you to submit the questions throughout the session using the chat panel on your screen, and we'll answer as many as possible during the QA portion, which will be interspersed between some of the conversations that we're having. So we're just excited to have you guys here. Today's webinar will be launching the polls, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. We want to hear from you just as much as you're hearing from us. And let's get it going with where practice management is going. It's evolving. I started practicing 25 years ago. It's made leaps through it. I want to hear where it is. And Gary, I want the big picture on that. I got a question for you. When you say tech stack, explain what tech stack is to a lot of the docs listening. It's changing in dentistry. What do you actually mean by the tech stack is changing?
The tech stack will continue to change. And this is one of the exciting things about being in technology, and especially in dentistry right now, is that it's constantly moving. I felt like we went through a time maybe 10, 20 years ago where things had slowed down and we'd fallen behind maybe the other parts of healthcare. And so this last, I want to say 5 to 7 years have been pretty exciting. It's been really a catch-up time. And so you'll see that we're moving forward. And I think the slide, 2 slides before said we're on a journey. That's probably a good way to describe it because we're not going to arrive. And here's what's going on right now with AI. We're going to get into that a little bit more later, but it's going to speed up. And so you're going to continue to see more, better ideas. This new technology is going to facilitate a number of things you thought, man, I didn't know that we'd ever get here. So we're really in an exciting time, and that's where we are in that journey.
It's going at a logarithmic curve. Is how fast the rate this is going. A while ago, we had talked about PMS becoming the hub. I know John and I have talked about it, of the whole practice. When I practiced, it was basically a fancy charting system. What does it look like today, especially with Curve? You guys are the leader in cloud. And what's the PMS look like today that's different than maybe 10, 15 years ago? And where's it headed?
All right. So first of all, I will qualify that. I think there's a $1 billion plus company out there that sells cloud software. So I'll rephrase that. When I say number one, when it's in a competitive situation, we believe we win more often than any other cloud vendor in the country. And so what's happening is an uptick right now in dentists looking and choosing cloud-based software. What I would say is it's finally caught up to the older, I don't want to call them dinosaurs, but the old reliable. Maybe that's a good way to talk about it. These systems have been working forever. They have all of the functionality you've seen, but there's nothing new coming out. And typically what they'll do is add to that. And that's where you get that term, the tech stack, because they can't build it all themselves. And really, no strategy will build everything with one vendor. There's always a constant maneuvering and shuffling. And what we really want to do is provide a single work environment, workflow that seems like it's seamless, but it could be a tech stack of different products.
So similar to what Apple does, and they make it easy. You add on products like we're talking about adding Amplify, where the synergies between you two are about to happen, and John's going to help explain it. Has that been Curve's vision from the beginning?
It has. You saw those the results that people were getting, and that's why in this slide we talk about it's really the impact that you need to be looking at, not the buttons. I don't need the red button. What I need is to improve my staff productivity. We need to provide a better patient experience. These are the impactful things that are shaping our industry right now. And that's really what you should count on your technology to do for you right now. It's not the old electronic file cabinet anymore. It's not that place that replaced your paper file cabinet and I just store my information in there. It's now coming alive and showing up in these other products and impact.
Yeah. You know, I could think of the same way for marketing, that old marketing sat there and you threw some darts and you saw what stuck. John, tell me about from the marketing side. You're hearing a lot. AI is a buzzword. It doesn't solve all problems. Some people it scares. It's an opportunity for some. But here, what you're really doing is taking something stagnant, like Gary was talking about, you know, maybe an old dinosaur system of PMS, and you're taking marketing to a higher level. You're not just slapping AI on it. You're using it. You're integrating with Curve to get results. I mean, how's the technology changing things in dental marketing?
Oh, fabulous question. And much like PMS, is that today's marketing, if you don't shift and you don't change towards really being AI supported, you're going to be in the arc ages, much like what Gary's talking about, some old kind of dinosaur PMSs or the kind of the OGs, I would say. And so same thing with marketing is that AI is everywhere. It's in every conversation. We've been doing this for 30 years, and I've personally been here for 25, and I've been able to see this transition, or this, like Gary said earlier, journey of doctors to be able to enable doctors now to be able to really understand their data. I mean, it's fascinating to see how quickly this integration, and especially what's happening with Curve plus Amplify 360, is the combination of the two, being able to give that doctor this competitive edge. I'll give you a quick example. Is that we had a doctor in Dallas, Texas recently that was struggling financially. They were tight financially. And I told him, I said, hey, let's look at this. Let's look at your practice data and let's dive in and let's get you connected. So we did. We looked at their data because it's all AI enabled. We looked at their data, and within a 1 hour meeting, we were able to see their data, why the doctor was struggling. And this is crazy. He had 4 PPOs that had 251 patients total that did and this is crazy, that did $256 per patient per year. I don't remember. I mean, Frank, if you were to say, what are you doing for $256 in a year's time frame? Not much, right? And
no.
So that equates to like 300 appointments. So giving the doctor the ability to pull the levers and dial in his or her practice is really what wakes up our entire team every day to be able to help our doctors to be able to leverage data from a marketing angle. So the cool thing about how when we tie Curve with Amplify 360, we're only looking at it from a marketing angle. Curve is the very best out there. And so being able to tie those two together and now look at it from a through a marketing lens is where we help our doctors that if they don't have the right patients in the chair or what have you, really focusing on that. And then now that there's really that 3 pillars, like you can see here on the screen, is the 3 pillars is tying marketing tactics, where 90% of marketing firms out there, that's all they live, eat, and breathe is just marketing tactics. They sell the doctor something. Well, our marketing tactics are all AI enabled. And then you take that and you combine that with a strategy for when we're talking about a growth strategy. That's pillar number 1, so that there's never any guessing. Then we go into data insights. This is where tonight's conversation is really kind of living, eating, breathing, because the data insights help the doctor to be able to make quick, educated decisions, to be able to guide their practice, his or her practice, to how to really match their clinical skills. So I have a lot of doctors that they're, well, I'll say clinical amazingness. They have this clinical ability from Dawson, Coyce, Pankey, Mish, wherever it is, Spear, wherever they've been, all these amazing institutes, but they have this patient base that's down here. And so this gap of, really, it's a gap of fulfillment. That's where we tie data together to say, how are we going to get that doctor or those doctors or multiple locations to that next level, as far as that next level of fulfillment, so that the doctor can slow down, spend more time with the patient, and really enjoy those patients. That's where the data insights come into play. And then the training is the second part of that pillar number 2, is the training goes along with it, and helping the doctors and the teams to have a really a scalable way that if a doctor says, hey, I only want to live, eat, and breathe in one practice forever, that's great. We can help them to build a scalable practice for that one location. If a doctor says, hey, I want to have 2, 3, 5, 10 locations, we've done that as well. So helping doctors to be able to scale whatever that they're wanting to scale, and training is absolutely a critical component. Is that how they answer the phones, to case acceptance, all the way through to different team trainings, so that helping them to understand how to really build a culture for practice growth. And then the third area is the profitability and advisory. This is where our team meets with every single doctor for 30 minutes every single month. We might be doing more if there's a doctor that says, hey, I'm adding an associate, or I'm moving a location. We might do things behind the scenes more than that. But that profitability and advisory is making sure that we're shutting the back door on when it comes to losing patients out the back end from a marketing perspective. So we want to shut that back door from a retention standpoint. And I know Gary and this is where I love with Curve enhances this retention area big time. And it's kind of a super, like a cheat tool for doctors to be able to have that information in front of them. So using those data insights to really build just stronger, more profitable practices. Doctors can slow down, spend more time with patients, do more dentistry per patient. That's what these 3 pillars ultimately do. And that's where I'm excited to partner with Curve on, because Gary and I have been working with this for a couple of years now. And this is fun to finally get it to where it's ready to go mainstream. And I'm just excited about that.
I wish John, I wish we would have had this together 10, 15 years ago.
I remember when we did it for you. Absolutely.
The heavy lift, and the docs that are listening know this. If I wanted to do implants, I would have to lift a little bit of marketing, hand it to John. Now he's able to mine data. Now with Curve, with APIs, and Gary's going to get into this, I can say, I'm ready to do some implants. Do I have the schedule space to do it? Who do we market to? And it's all working for you. I'm not having to pull reports. You're not having to do that. Am I getting close to that, John and Gary? Is that the way we can work it? Just as a simple example?
Absolutely, 100%. Because what the doctor that I referred a doctor to Curve recently, and they're like, John, why didn't you tell us about Curve a long time ago? Because when what they were struggling with is really this full practice integration, and Gary will get into more of that. But this ability to where everything should be running smoothly, and they don't have to piecemeal things together. And then tying that with marketing is just this kind of well-oiled machine, this kind of sweet spot in the center of the practice that everything is running on all 8 cylinders.
Yeah, well, you mentioned oil. All these touch points we're talking about is friction for a dentist. And we sit there, and even if you're working on someone, you're thinking about all the things that are happening with all the friction points. And these two, and AI is making it where it's oiling it, and it's making it so much easier for programs to talk to each other, where I can actually take care of patients, raise my profitability. I wish I would have had it. I might go back and practice. I'm kidding, John. No, I'm not going to do that now. I love it here. I love it here. All right. So quick turn with the poll. This is why we're doing it live, because we got a poll. John and Gary both touched on growth. I'm curious, and I just had a little Q&A that was curious that popped up. They want to know, like, what's the biggest growth challenge facing your practice today? You can see it right there on the screen. Hit the buttons, and I want to talk about this because everything is challenging. But what really ranks up there is it, and it may depend on your phase of practice. If you're new, 0 to 5 years out, 5 to 10 years out, or maybe you're in that third phase, but we want to hear from it. Well, since we have the one right now, John, you want to talk about the new patient acquisition? It's, the way we did it with my practice, basically used a rifle instead of a shotgun. We were able to hone in and drive the patients that I wanted. I wish I had Curve to do this because I could really target patients if I was tied in to both programs to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the thing that I can say confidently is that if a doctor is here that has Curve and they are looking for new patient acquisition, it's the combination of the two of them, because it's not just any patient in the chair. It's really saying, okay, what are your top 10, 20, 30 procedures that you're doing over and over and over again? Is that really what you want to be doing? And so the Curve data is absolutely gold. And then helping the doctor to use that, and then now tapping into their marketing strategy to tie those two things together. That's where, like Gary quoted, is that 1 + 1 = 5. And that's that combination of the two is it's saying it's really removing the guessing when it comes to new patient acquisition, because of mining the data throughout the entire process.
No, you led me to my next question. It's going to be about the data layer. Gary, I'm going to ask you this one. So the PMS, it's being the hub of it all. So in the old days of PMS, if the data was there, it's not doing what Curve's doing. So tell the docs listening, and I want to hear this, how you're working with AI and data. I have a feeling you guys just aren't slapping an AI label on it. You're integrating it, make it pretty robust and powerful.
It is, and AI is going to be used in so many different ways. But to John's point, and to your point, Frank, about the rifle versus the shotgun's not using AI. The rifle requires you to do the analysis with the data. And so what AI is now allowing us to do is do a better job sourcing up the data for Amplify 360. And this gives us the opportunity to not just with an API connectivity to get quick access to the data, but it's also going to allow the practice to use that data to accomplish what Amplify 360 set out to do. And so that's what you're going to see that's so exciting. Solving specific problems.
Yeah. Real quick, if you don't understand what an API is, I'm going to give a food analogy here. Basically, if you're looking at a menu and you tell the waiter what you want to eat, he's the API that then goes back to the kitchen to have it cooked. If I'm correct on that analogy, Gary, I love to eat, love to cook, but it's basically a handshake or a go-between. So this is what Amplify and Curve will do when you see these letters API. That's a communication highway between the two. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's a great analogy, actually.
Anything, food. Everybody has to eat, and everybody loves food.
Oh yeah, you
You
hit home
know,
on
I
that.
love it.
And data is
but
not just the fields that we mentioned in an earlier slide, but is actually now your voice, recording your voice. We're getting ready to release ambient listening. I'm so excited about this, but this is what AI is doing. We're getting stuff done so much faster. So whether it's your notes, it's SOAP notes or templated notes, and maybe it's your charting or your perio charting, whatever those things are, it's putting it in your system directly from your microphone. Exciting time. So thinking about the journey we're going on, it is speeding up. And just this month, you're going to be seeing some more announcements on that.
Well,
that'll be good
I
to
got to
see.
stop you right there, Gary. Is that when I heard that just this last week for the first time, I'm like, my doctor that I go to here in Eugene, I love him to death. He's an AGD doctor. I guarantee you that he would have, we would have been done with my oral health years ago if he would have had ambient listening. Why? I've actually taught him that even though I've said it, he hasn't actioned on it, right? And so that ambient listening, I cannot wait to see how that unfolds here this summer. Is it and I don't know the exact date or anything like that, but the key is that I know my doctor, it's not just financial, but actually helping patients get healthier quicker, faster, sooner, because that's what the patient wants. I know I'm one of them because I had shared stuff about what I want to do with my oral health, but he's never actioned on that. And so some other doctors I know that are listening, like just pained, like I'd do it. but that's where I can't wait to see how that takes hold.
Well,
right.
speaking of the visibility, when you see a practice that has good data visibility versus when they don't, and you just touched on it a little bit there, John. So explain that, because some of them are just marketing blind. Tell me what else they're doing.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, they're absolutely marketing blind, because the most practices just are making gut reactions, especially. And I'm not here to cut down on any front office person, but it's what do they feel? So they share with the doctor their feelings. It's either working or not working or what have you. And then the doctor makes decisions on those simple conversations. Well, if the data is not true transferable data like that through the API, but having the ability to be able to say what's exactly attributed to the marketing tactic and how does that flow in through the life cycle of a patient, that's where the magic happens. So where most marketing firms, they know that the lead came from, let's say, Google or some pay-per-click ads or over-the-top streaming on Netflix, Hulu, and Prime, or OOH, which is out of home, which is on a billboard or on some QR code or whatever. They know generally where it happened. But where it stops is that when the patient makes an appointment, where that's a shame, because that's where all the magic, in my humble opinion, just continues and really grows for the doctor if they had that transparency of data, to where if a doctor knew from the time that someone clicked on an ad, then they called about, let's say, an implant, and let's say, John Riley, I have 3 implants that I just got scanned with scan bodies just a couple weeks ago. Now I'm getting my implants restored in literally about 3-4 weeks, and I cannot wait. But if from the time that this is one of our clients, that Seth is going to be able to know from the time that someone clicks on an ad all the way through them becoming a patient, and then how much revenue are they generating because of those clicks. Now the doctor can make, and everything's transparent. The doctor can see every single patient, every single transaction, to where it's 100% visible. And then the doctor, there's different levers that the doctor can pull or dial in to say, this is the type of patient that I want more of, or I'm going to go do IV sedation, or I'm going to get this type of implant training, or full arch, or all on X training, whatever it might be. They get that level of training. Now we can, because of that data, that data bed that Curve is built, we can then, from a marketing angle, using that API, then help the doctor to be able to make those excellent business decisions to say, here's how your dollars are working. And one thing I'll say is that we don't care where the marketing is what marketing tactic we're doing. We are what we call tactic agnostic. Why? What does that mean? Well, we don't really care what tactic we're doing for the doctor. Just like a good wealth manager truly shouldn't care which fund they are investing for you. Well, if A, B, C, D are killing it, but F over here isn't, well, a good wealth manager should say, we're going to move those F funds into A, B, or C, or D so that you have a greater return. That's exactly what, when it comes down to marketing, that's how we can use that transparency of data, the data insights, and all the AI supported tools that we do. I mean, AI is through everything we do, through chat. So when you're talking about on the front end, ChatGPT to Claude to Gemini and others, really AI and SEO are built on the same infrastructure, the fundamental infrastructure for crawling and indexing for the search tools. That's why when it comes to why we use it and why it's important to us, first of all, is because that's where patients are now starting to search. We want to make sure to capture that for the doctor and then use that data throughout the life cycle of that patient data. That's where the magic is. It's just fun to watch because doctors go, I wish I had this 20 years ago. I go, I know. That's why I'm excited about this Curve and Amplify 360 system and partnership together, because it's really going to separate doctors and give them a true competitive edge.
Yeah, I agree. I look at it before I go to this poll. I look at it when I was practicing almost if it were siloed, where marketing was here and practice management system was here. And you can visualize a Venn diagram where they're overlapping. When you integrate that data, the power behind that, just like Gary said, AI can do things that would really just blow you away as a dentist. And if you use it, that releases a lot of friction in your office because it's tough right now to make everything work together. I like the way that it's integrated. So before I go on to the integration, I'll stop there. I just want to talk about a poll. And, we're talking about scaling and growing, John. If somebody wants 4 or 5 offices, I'm tracking my ROI, right? So we're going to ask, how confident are you in your ability to track it? Because it seems that there's so many moving parts. You need to prep a crown. You need to do veneers. You need to do this. I really don't have the time to track my ROI. So John, help me do that, but explain now with AI and Curve, John, how you're tracking that. I don't have to stay after work and pull reports and dig for data.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. There's this module that we've built collectively with Curve. We can now, we call it the investment performance analysis, that we can tell exactly when someone invests $1, what is that? We call it investment performance initially, because if it's 6, 8, 10, 12 months, that's not true ROI. True ROI, just like the ADA says, the average patient stays 5 to 7 years in the practice. That's when you have true ROI. So investment performance is saying, how is it truly working in the early months, in the 6, 8, 12, 14 months, 18 months of the relationship. That's what the doctor really needs to see, not wait till 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, I think it's good, and not know. But then the other piece to it as well is that in that what we call lovingly the IPA, the investment performance analysis, that process really uncovers. It's like with the doctor, we get to roll up the garage door and be able to say, what type of patient is coming in? What type of patient do you want? Are they matching? And then ultimately, it also shows phone conversion, as far as if the doctor has a 4-to-1 return right now, which is good in the first 8 months, and then but their phone conversion is only at 22% or 25% or 30%. God forbid it's that low. We've seen it that way. And if the front office then, with our training, has the ability to be able to apply that, which it's a world-class training. If they simply apply it, then then the doctor could double their ROI or investment performance in the early months if their team was just better at phone conversion and answering calls. And one of the things about AI too is that we have a whole God bless this team. There's a team of like 6 to 8 individuals that they wake up every day listening to phone calls. I would feel like I'm punished and in the corner.
Yeah,
That's what I was doing every day. But they love it, and I just love them for loving it because we need them. They're amazing at it. But we partner with AI and with their ability to listen to the tone of how well are they really trying to build a relationship with that prospective patient. And tying that with AI, we can tell exactly how many calls had the word implant in it, how many calls actually had Invisalign, how many calls actually had this, that, or the other, whatever the doctor is really wanting to focus on, or how many calls were converted by Sally up front. But Susie, the new gal, is that, man, she's struggling. And we can see it right off the bat to where there's no delay on that, really giving the doctor insights that they can quickly, with us and with our help, because of the curve data, it's really that partnership throughout the whole piece to where doctors just can't live without it, quite frankly.
Yeah. And I was thinking of what Gary said. You're talking about voice, where you can track the number of words said, but you can also coach people up, where if you find they're deficient and front desk is maybe not leading the patient to a decision, you can track that and use AI to, give that, coach them up and find deficiencies. It's great all the way around. Someone had mentioned 1 + 1 = 5. So I want to talk about the integration in the action. I always thought of this like a chemical equation when we were in biochem, where you had a catalyst, where you had A plus B, and then you add a catalyst, but you got E. That's analogous to what I see when I see programs like this, and I work with a lot of software. So let's see what it looks like when it comes together. Gary, for a practice today, say I already have Curve, how much work does it take to get connected? I mean, is this something I'm going to have to heavy lift and set up, or get my IT person to do this, or what am I looking at?
You're going to love this answer. Amplify is set or integrated with all of our customer base. Now, it's not activated. So you literally say, John, I think we want to do this thing. And John has a relationship with you. So he's going to have an agreement. You guys are going to work out your relationship. But you know what John's going to do? John's going to pick up the phone and say, Gary, turn it on. Turn on the faucet. And so what's neat about that is now John's able to customize his solution just for that dental practice, for that Curve customer, and it's personalized. And so you've got that right at your fingertips now. That's why we love this integration.
That's almost too easy. It makes me, I love how easy that is. So John, what's it look like in real life after they get going? So I call, we working together, and I say, yep, I'm Curve user. I want to do it. What's going to happen that didn't happen before? Say 10 years ago, Frank and John, now I've got it. What does it look like?
Oh my gosh. In the first 30 to 60 days, it's an absolute eye opener for the doctor, because we can help to tap into low hanging fruit that from a marketing perspective, because Curve has already done that for me. I mean, the Curve demo that I did with you guys recently, Gary, that really opened up my eyes to your gal. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on her name. She was genius.
Helping and support. It was a Kristen.
Yeah. Who was that again?
Kristen.
I got to do a shout out for Kristen.
All right. Yeah. She's mom. She's good.
Insane. And I felt like, and this is not, I'm not trying to sell anything here, but I felt like a hero after doing the demo with her to the doctor that I first referred you, and many others since then. But the first doctor that started with you, I know now why they're so excited, because she just like helped me to understand how all of those layers, it's not just about financial, but it is about financial too. And it's how all of those pieces work together to really streamline everything in their practice, from billing to, I mean, I'm not going to do it justice like Kristen did, but I got to say, shout out to Kristen. So if there's anybody here that is an Amplify 360 client that's wanting to know more about Curve, to say, you got to do the demo. You got to do the demo. It blew my mind. And again, like, I felt like a hero because I referred someone to it. And I think I'm not trying to put Curve on the spot here, but I think they got up and running like 4 or 5 weeks. So it was very, very fast.
That sounds
is that accurate?
Normal. Yeah. It depends on the system, but yeah.
Depends on the system. Absolutely. So on Amplify 360 side, in that first 30 to 60 days, they get to see this low-hanging fruit from a standpoint of fee schedule to payer mix. Like that doctor in Dallas, they made that educated decision. Now, hear me out. We usually take 9 to 12 months before we ever start helping a doctor to get out of network of certain PPOs, because they need to really build a foundation of quality new patients. Well, this particular very unique unicorn that had those 4 PPOs that was doing $50,000 of literally 300 appointments a year, they were hemorrhaging money. They needed to get rid of that yesterday. And as soon as they did, they were able to start. They go, oh wow, I can actually start seeing cash flow start to increase. It was already a $1.3, $1.4 million practice, but they were tight financially because they didn't understand the payer mix. So understanding the payer mix, understanding where their fee schedule should be according to their clinical skill, and then really just looking at all these different layers from a marketing perspective really gives these insights to doctors that it's almost like, oh my gosh, where have you been all my life? That's where I say about Gary is like, I wish we had been working together for 30 years ago. I know that we both weren't around 30 years ago, but nonetheless, is that's just the key to where a doctor is when they get into the software, that with the marketing aspect, is how we work is that we're going to develop a marketing strategy for every single doctor, but that marketing strategy is aligned with data insights and practice profitability, and our team, our client success team, is going to really help to walk the doctor through each and every step. So just like a treatment plan, is that if a doctor provides me a treatment plan, if I follow that treatment plan, they're never surprised if I get healthy, right? That's the key. Same thing for us. Same thing for Gary. If someone follows the plan, they're going to get healthy. And that's what's really fun to watch, because these practices have been doing business for a very long time in the same way, the same. We always know that they're expecting a different result by doing the same thing. We know what that means, but it's helping them to change course, but to really match who they are clinically. That's where the data tied to the marketing is really a fun combination.
I love that. So this is, we could talk for hours on this part of it. I do want to go to the Q&A because I've already seen some questions that have popped up. And if you guys would help me out on this, I'm not going to put you on the spot, am I?
No, you're good.
No.
We better know what we do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
Get
so.
me off of here if I can't answer these questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is like dental school. I'm going to make you uncomfortable and just make your life miserable. Let's do the first one I saw from Dr. Lee in Fort Lee. And either of you can take this. What metrics should practice owners actually pay attention to?
Gary?
John, well, John, I'm going to give more technology answers than I am. You're going to give more, I think, more practice numbers and a financial view and a marketing view. Let's let you go first.
Okay, you bet. Is it one of the key indicators is that a doctor should absolutely know is one of my favorites is how much revenue are they doing per patient? And it's, again, not about the dollar signs in the eyes. When your patient walks through the door, you're not seeing a dollar sign. But if you're doing, I'll give you a good example. Our average doctor starts with us at around $1,000 per active patient. Is that good? Not so good. That's $1,000 per active patient per year. That's average. Okay. Where they should be is around 1,500, 1,800, 2,000. Now, it's not where we dictate that. It's the type of dentistry that a lot of doctors want to do. They want to slow down, spend more time with the patient. Now, if they want to have a PPO practice, by all means, we can still help them. We have a lot of them. We don't dictate what type of procedures they're doing or how to do it. That's not what we do. We really help to maximize the strategy, whatever the doctors want to do. So when that KPI really says, how much fulfillment are you doing? How hard are you working to get paid that dollar? So if it's below $1,000 per active patient, oftentimes the doctor is really sore, their neck, and they're tired at the end of the day because they're hustling. They're seeing, the doctors call them, they're seeing 10, maybe up to 15 new patients, or 15, not new patients, but 10 to 15 patients a day, where the practice that's doing 1,800, 2,000, 2,200, 2,500, 3,000. Now, this is not an implant practice, or it could be starting to be an implant practice, but these are practices, like I'm visiting a practice here soon that went from 700,000 to 5.5 million, single doctor practice on a 16 workday month. It's like, I want to go see it myself because I don't even know how that's even freaking possible.
Yeah, I'd be curious on that too.
I mean, I know so many doctors want to know. It's like, tell me how it works, because he's a unicorn. But it's understanding the data, understanding how much revenue you're doing per patient. What is your what percentile are you in as far as where your fee structure is at? If a doctor is in the 70th percentile, say, they go, well, I just don't want to overcharge and I want to be very kind to my community. It's like, hey, I'm all about that. I'm all about taking care of your community. But I'm also making sure that you can afford technology. You can afford the types of labs that you really want to use, the types of treatments that you want to do, types of technology that supports the type of dentistry that you've been trained to do. You need to be able to afford all that. So we need to make sure that your fee structure is in the 80th or 90th percentile. There's a doctor that once we developed this software for fee schedule review just a couple of years ago, the doctor, we had been working with this since 2009, and we've been telling them, they upgrade your fees. Well, we never had insights to that. Now we do. Once we did, we recognized that his fees were at the 43rd percentile. And I said, Jonathan, you can no longer be a nonprofit dental practice. Now, he laughed, I laughed, but then I turned my laughter into, I'm serious, Jonathan, you can no longer afford to be that. So helping the doctor to understand what is bringing value to the actual patient. It's not about being a price shopping practice. It's not about being the lowest price provider out there. It's about providing a level of service that your communication matches, your fee structure matches, your culture, your brand. Everything should match who you are clinically, doctor. And that's where the fulfillment starts to come out, and understanding there's literally, you don't need to understand a ton of different KPIs, but there's 4 or 5 KPIs that you should know, like how many phone calls are being answered. What's that KPI percentage? Are they in the 90th? Are they answering at 90% plus, or are they answering at 60%? If they're answering at 60%, doctor, your dollar is getting cut, and there's 40% of your dollar that's never going to get engaged because they're only answering it 60% of the time. And we see that with new doctors that are starting up with us. And that's a shame, because the doctor, no matter where they go, that's going to continue happening unless the culture changes up front. And that's where our training comes in and all that. So great question, but there's a small sector, and KPIs to understand the value per patient is a great indicator of how hard you're working.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of that, I had a mentor once tell me, never apologize for your success or for your fees.
Yep.
And I learned along the way, and John, you've seen this, and you approach practices that may be a little shy about raising it. Your education wasn't free. Your commitment wasn't free. Have some value behind what you do. And honestly, the perception, patients will start to sense that, and they go, oh, because dentistry is expensive, whether it's $5 or $5,000, patients think dentistry is expensive. So why not charge what you're worth?
Yeah.
This kind of dovetails the next poll question that I have, John. What you just described dovetails into it. So we talked about ROI. So how do I know that my spend is really working? This stuff seems to be all over the place. Are you able, with data and AI, to really hone it in and give me just, maybe a dashboard, or I think that's what we had worked on before, and just tell me, is it really working?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's where the investment performance analysis comes in so sweet. Along with, we have another software called Practice HQ that listens, that all the phone calls are in there, that all those that our team puts all that data in there. And then the doctor can be able to see exactly how many calls are coming in, how many are true new patient opportunities that are coming in through the door. We call them qualified, because they have to be a qualified type of patient, because again, our team is listening to them. AI is also listening as well. That way that we can tell exactly who's coming in and what, to where we can say, okay, exactly how many patients opportunities does the doctor have every single month, and then ultimately who's scheduling them up front, how many calls are they answering, how many are getting appointed, what's getting accepted. So we know through the entire cycle. We call it the 5 A's. The number of calls that are coming in, the number of calls are that they answer. So how many calls are answered, appointed, accepted, and then ultimately going through the entire process. What is the average patient value? This entire 5 A's process that we do helps the doctors go, okay, there's really no guessing on my marketing. We can tell exactly at what point is the patient falling out of what I would say a leaky lead funnel. We can help to close that right away, so the doctor can ultimately, their dollar goes further and they can make quick, educated decisions.
That's great questions, and I can't get to all of them. I'll have to stop there. John, Gary, any final words before we wrap it up?
Yeah,
Gary, you want to?
I'll go first. Yeah, I would just say from both of our companies, be watching. Make sure you're getting emails, because there's going to be a lot announced in the next 12 months when it comes to technology improvements, whether that's improving your patient's experience, your employees' experience, or your experience. Any of those, it's going to dramatically change. And so you're going to see a lot going on, and it's fun to keep up with all this. I think we actually sent out an email string today with all the new product functions that we just added in the past 2 weeks. So keep that in mind. If you're a Curve customer, if you're not, we'd love to have you take a look at us. It's always about what's new. We like to say, if you haven't seen Curve lately, you haven't seen Curve, because it continues to change. So that's what I would end on.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love that. Is that I would echo that. If you haven't seen Amplify 360 lately, you haven't seen Amplify.
That's trademarked. You can't take that. That's trademarked, John.
Well, because the two together really is that's the beauty part of it. And so this is where I can say confidently about both Curve and Amplify 360 is that if you are working with Curve and you might have been one to say new patient acquisition is something that you know, and then also you don't know confidently how to track it. Well, my recommendation to you is to scan the QR code and be able to set up a quick call. It's going to be about a half hour, 45 minutes, very low pressure. We're not about overselling or anything like that. We're here to educate you. And if just like with a treatment plan with a patient, is if the patient finds value in that treatment plan, they're going to work together with you. If they don't find value, they're not going to. Same with you, Doc, is that if that's you and you're wondering, what would that look like if I was to have Amplify 360 and Curve together, because you're already a Curve user, and how would that look? Simply scan that QR code. Let's set up a call together. The call is going to be with me, because we're starting an early access for 8 specific doctors. There might be more that actually go through this process, but 8 are going to start right away as far as in this next 30 to 45 days, to where we can take 8 to begin with. And why are we doing that? Because we want to make sure that the data and everything, as far as it's proven. We've been doing this for 30 years. I've been doing it for 25. Now the combination of the two together, of Amplify and Curve together, that's why we're starting with 8. And then they get that early access. And I'm so excited to be able to help those doctors. And so you're not going to find anything funny business. You're just going to find a lot of education that you're going to be able to walk away with education if you don't work with us. But if you do, we're going to be excited to help you develop that strategic plan that's going to help you really break through that ceiling of complexity.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're coming up on the end of the show. Again, Gary and John, I appreciate your time, and the docs listening. I know everybody's schedules are busy, and I appreciate you joining the conversation. I'd love to do it again. You know, once we get things going, maybe a catch up in 6 months to say, and maybe even bring some users on. I would love to hear from docs that are using it, that are really just diving into the program. So that would be great. So we're going to send a follow-up email with a recording. Thanks again for being here. We look forward to connecting with you again soon. Take care, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Frank.
Thanks.